you know, you're right in the thick of it.
I just wanted to ask him.
Yeah. Not to delve in the whole presentation, but what do you think of the figures that were presented tonight? Both, I know you worked with Kenny, but you know, what do you think of the administration's figures?
I have to say, in all honesty, that I was a little bit uncomfortable with using the billables as a return, because I know how much less than the billables we actually collect. And I actually use average rate of return, same numbers that Mr. Town used for my figures. I actually did some updates that brought us up to May 15th the other day, and I showed that the cost of staff hours at an overtime rate of $45 an hour would have been $34,740, and that based on those average returns, a corrected return amount, that we would have returned in the vicinity of $50,000. I mean, it's true. What Jeff says is true. We collect, about 88% of a figure that's actually less than 50% of our billables, and that just has to do with the weirdness of medical billing, which Councilor Romeo will, I believe, vouch. It's crazy what medical billing is like, and that's part of the problem, is getting good solid figures on this. But where I raise the alarm is that on a day-to-day basis, and as an example, on the day of the last full council meeting, that Tuesday at 0700 hours, we dropped from 14 staff with West Gloucester and both staffs functioning. We dropped down to 12, which shuts down both West Gloucester Station and both squads. And the cost of those two personnel at $45 an hour would have been $900 for two personnel. By 1400 hours, we turfed off 3 runs. Billables in excess of $4,000 and a return of about $1,900. So for that one day, just that one little tiny picture at a time, we would have spent $900 to recover 19 minimum, maybe as much as 4. And it's true, I'm not, Jeff's a numbers guy. He knows numbers. I don't know numbers, I know EMS. But I do know that $1,900 is more than $900. And so that's where I was raising the alarm. I mean, I think that it's a very complex picture to try and do this, but and it's also true to Councilor McGeary's point about, what to do about this current fiscal. The days are ticking by, the weeks are ticking by. It's going to be June 30th before we know it. And my real concern, my grave concern, is for fiscal 12. And I think we'll probably end up talking more about this when I present on my billing and collections recommendations. So I don't want to go too in depth on that now, but that's my grave concern.
Thank you.
The days that we don't have an ambulance and someone calls 911, what do you do? What does the fire department do?
So we call Gulfport Ambulance, which is our current contracted back ambulance service.
And do you notify them ahead of time when you're not running?
We have developed a sort of an impromptu mechanism. Either they'll call us, once in a while we'll call them. Typically they'll call us to find out what our staffing level for the day is, to see if they can hustle and try and staff up if we're sure.
Now, if we have an emergency and there's no ambulance around, have you used the trucks? Have 2 men been on a truck or EMTs and gone out?
2 men.
Have trucks gone out without ambulance to service people?
Our trucks?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our fire engine and
can we bill?
We don't bill.
We don't bill. How many have we lost?
Because of that?
Yeah.
Well, that's the numbers that
Exactly. But don't you get paid? And don't those trucks? And don't we have to service those trucks, clean those trucks, insurance those trucks, gas those trucks? So what are we talking here? And how long does it take Beauport? Did anyone check the minutes? Now, I know about Medicare billing, and I'm not going to talk about BLS or ALS because I'm just so BS that it's not even funny. And you know what? I don't mind you talking about a third party, but it gets me nervous when we start saying third party, someone coming in. Are we talking a third party to help us produce and make our fire station better and our ambulance? Or are we talking about privatizing? Because if we're talking about, I'm walking out right now.
Just numbers.
Just numbers. Okay, then I'll be kind and I'll keep my BS to myself then. All right. The fact is, I've heard ambulance calls. I heard complaints. I hear complaints. I had an emergency. Some areas, we're far out. You close stations. We're in West Gloucester. So when we joke around and you say, or in Bayview, when you say, well, both bridges closed, we've had both bridges closed. You need to keep stations open. But you know what? Our ambulance, when you call, and we used to have to call Lions, do you realize sometimes our streets are so confusing? And we had Alliance ambulance that instead of Atlantic Street went to Atlantic Road. You know what that delay was? That person's heart attack. It's bad enough we have delay in time. You don't need delayed people don't know in the roads and streets. You can't guarantee that. And you know what? And what are we putting a price on? Do you know that we do have a free care pool? I'm one of those people that say, you know what? Okay, Medicare, you pay the $820, whatever. Your Tufts is not going to pay that. And sometimes, yes, the city of Gloucester does eat that bill. But don't these taxpayers, doesn't our mothers or anyone else, when we can't, that we can say that's okay, you're still going to get an ambulance to come to you? That's what sometimes, we're looking at the picture, money, 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 money. What are we making? What are we making? But what are we saving? How many lives did we save? How many people, it's okay. People now understand that. They're not calling, oh, I don't feel good, let me call the ambulance because it's going to cost me cheaper to get there than a cab. That's not happening anymore. Ambulance calls are because ambulances are needed and times have changed. Time's of the essence. You know what? When I called the ambulance a month ago, I was out in the middle of the street script because, you know, everyone panics. If you think someone's dying or you're having a heart attack, whatever, you think, oh my God, where'd it take them? And they were in West Gloucester, okay? And to me, I thought, oh my God, where are you? I ran down the hill. Where are you? Where are you? And was I glad to see our ambulance? And was I glad to see someone I knew? What am I going to do? Whatever. Let me tell you, I've worked with all different kinds, and I've worked with Comstar. Fantastic. I've worked with a lot of different ambulances. Some, the billing, if we have progressive billing, and you brought that to us, you told us yourself, and we do progressive billing, and we stay on top of like we did with our water bills, or if we did, we'll shut them off, or we'll do this and this, and we do that. I don't mean to point my finger, I'm sorry. We're getting money back. We're starting to do progressive billing. Why don't we look at the billing? Comstar is great. They're a little bit lenient. Let's work it like they do in Lions. There's no ifs and buts. Get progressive billing. If Comstar can't pull it because they're too nice, then we need to look at how we get our collections too. Thank you.
I think something Sandra said just sort of sums it up when you were asked about, you know, do we contact Lions? And you said we have an impromptu thing so they can staff up. Because it tells me that they're thinking ka-ching. You know, that they're going to make sure they have enough people on staff so if the phone rings, they're going to be able to answer it and bill out. So, you know, there's got to be something between the numbers that were provided by the auditor and Jeff's numbers. You know, if this is revenue neutral, who cares? You know, it keeps people on duty, possibly keeping stations open, like the one around the corner from my house, and we all feel a little bit safer. And Savathia's house. And yeah, and on and on and on it goes. So I think we should look at this seriously. And my fear about the third party, which we really need to do, I hope we don't get a report and we just stick it on a shelf because it's something we don't want to really invest in. But talk about the FY lag money, FY11 lag money. It just makes no sense to me that at the end of the year we're going to have money left over in the fire department budget and we're going to use it for something else. Meanwhile, stations have been closed pretty frequently. I mean, I notice it more because I drive by West Gloucester Station like 5 times a day, and I'm seeing that one's closed quite a bit. So I just hope that we look seriously at, before we take this money for snow and ice, we need to look at getting the stations open between now and the end of the fiscal year. And I really hope that, you know, we'd be a little more open-minded when it comes to budgeting for this coming year about what we might realize from the ambulance runs, because I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot by being a little too conservative. Well, Lyons is on duty.
First of all, Councilor, no one is suggesting that we're going to take any lag money or any appropriation from the fire department and use it for snow and ice. If that's what was implied by what I said, that's not accurate. There's money in the fire department for fire department purposes, and I don't know how much it cost, for instance, for a fire like Pleasant Street. There's a Pleasant Street. Yeah, I think it was like maybe 10 grand. Is that, so if we have a significant issue between now and then, the money is used for that. I mean, there's no, thing on the administration's part to say, don't respond to an emergency. When we say maybe revenue neutral, I think that's what I was trying to explain when I said we're not going to get the revenue this year. It's not going to be revenue neutral this year. We're going to have the expenses if we were to take some of the lag money and put it into overtime and staff up. But again, I think one of the discussions is if you add more overtime, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, summer months are coming. I mean, these guys take vacations. We talked about that the other night. Firefighters take vacation just like every other employee takes vacation. When do most people want to take a vacation? In the summertime. Adding more money doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have more men showing up at the station on any given day. I mean, I think that's the reality. You could add 20,000 more to overtime, but you may get, over the next 2 months, but you may not necessarily staff more than 14. You still may have people take time off. We don't have, the administration doesn't have any control over that. So again, I hear what you're saying, and I get it that an outside company doesn't know our city better than we know it. I get that too. All I'm saying is that there is a pool of money, $86 million that the city generates, which you folks vote on as well as the administration does, and you help to prioritize that. There's $86 million. It has to go to run the entire city. So if we have to reprioritize things, we have to reprioritize things, but that means that something else is going to be prioritized less. So I guess that's the only comment on that.
Thank you. I just want to expand a little bit. Councilor Romeo, you had one of the examples you gave, what happens if a bridge is out or anything like that. I mean, to expand a little bit more on Jeff's part, are we going to respond to an emergency? Of course, we're going to respond to an emergency, and we will follow up, with a financial appropriation from someplace. It's just like, when you have a situation where the bridges are out, or if there's snowstorms, excessive snowstorms, flooding, anything like that. I mean, we will be proactive and not react to an emergency and make sure the outskirts are manned, in those events. So we're not going to wait during situations like that are put before us. I want to make that point perfectly clear. Thank you.
The one thing that the administration may want to look at is we didn't budget anything on Medicare Plus 200 because it wasn't passed by you folks. I don't even think I knew about it before we presented. I know it was dated April 24th, but I'm not sure I knew that we were looking to go Medicare Plus 200. So that's something that we haven't explored.
Well, I remember the conversation we had last year when we went to Medicare Plus 120. I mean, and the question came out of why aren't we going higher? Why don't we go 160, 180, or anything like that? And with the chief and the EMS coordinator, basically it was, well, at some point, they're going to say enough is enough, and it's and that so to automatically go that leap. I think it's too far of a leap to sit there and automatically assume because of that extra Medicare Plus going from 120 to 200 we'll be able to receive X amount of more dollars after the conversation we had, especially the last fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. One thing just I wanted to address, we'll address it more, I think, with the billing collections policy, but right now the city of Belmont has authorized going to Medicare Plus 300,000. Blue Cross Blue Shield is in negotiations with the state to cap maximum billings at Medicare Plus 300%. And it has to do with some other stuff that's going on, but it is, and we did in fact see that come down this last year. So the city of Lynn bumped up to Medicare Plus 200 last year during the mid-fiscal. So I mean, we've been following and either being ahead of or at the trend for municipal ambulance billing. Two points I just had as far as the reduction in revenues that we're in fact causing now is going to affect first quarter 2012. I mean, I think that's something that we have to stare in the face, and I think that's part of the reason why it's so important to me that this is addressed as aggressively as it is. The other thing that I want to just talk about, and it addresses Councilor Romeo's